Before we get into today's video, I just want to let you guys know that this video is for educational purposes only. Please remember to be kind to everybody everywhere in your everyday life, in your home, in the grocery store, and especially in the comment section down below. Please do not show hate to anybody, anywhere. So good morning, good morning, good morning. How is everybody doing today? I hope you all are having an amazing day. I hope you all are starting out y'all's week of 2025 on a good foot. I mean, 2025, it sounds so futuristic. It sounds like fireworks should be going off as I'm saying it, 2025. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about a woman that was in the headlines many years ago, but she has been back in the headlines here recently, and you're going to see why in a moment. But before we do, I want to know, what is something that like you have a fear of? Like some people have a fear, and I don't know if fear is maybe too strong of a word, but a concern or irrational fear or whatever, of like spiders, of a bug flying in your ear. If you've ever had a bug in your ear, you know. Or certain foods. Have y'all ever seen that clip of that woman that was like scared of, was she scared of olives or scared of pickles?
You've been scared of olives. Do you eat olives?
No, we can't eat them tonight.
Bring out the olives!
Or any kind of like little weird fear you have. Let me know down below. Before we get into this video though, I did want to let you guys know, if you don't already know, hi, my name is Christina. I do have a second channel, which is Casually Christina. We just do things way more casually over there. I also have a Patreon. My Patreon's for 18 and up. And over there, we talk about more personal stuff. We go live over there. There's a $2 tier for all the true crime stuff that cannot go onto YouTube due to their terms and policies. I post that over on my Patreon under the $2 tier. Just make sure you read the full about section of what each tier offers before you join. I'm also on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and I'm on Like to Know It. And Like to Know It is the platform where you can find links to a lot of the things that I like and that I use, like workout gear, makeup items, clothing items, furniture, skincare, basically anything that I like, use, or that y'all ask about, I can post that on my Like to Know It. And all of those platforms are linked down in the description box if you would like to come and check me out. So, okay, let's talk about Susan. Susan Smith was born on September 26th of 1971 in Union, South Carolina. She was the youngest of three, and she was the only daughter. Now, Susan had what a lot of us would definitely refer to as an unstable childhood. Back in 1977, her father, Harry, passed away by his own doing when she was just 6 years old. The grief left Susan feeling just so overwhelmed, and it was very intense. But she did try to keep herself occupied by starting a coin collection, and she would also like replay an audio recording that she had of her father's voice. Susan's mother, Linda, she went on to remarry. Now, the man that she remarried's name was Beverly Russell Jr. Beverly was a divorced father of three, and he was also a very successful stockbroker, and he was a member of the South Carolina's Christian Coalition. At home, though, he was not exactly who will say the public or other people thought that he was. As a matter of fact, he was taking advantage of 15-year-old Susan. Susan actually went to her high school guidance counselor and told her about what was going on in the home. And the guidance counselor, I guess, tried, because she went to Susan's mother, Linda, and told her about what Susan had came to her and told her was going on. Now, Linda went home and confronted her husband, Beverly, like, this is what Susan told the guidance counselor. Are you doing this? And he admitted to his wife that he was, but he promised and he swore that he would never, ever do it again. And he agreed to go to family therapy. Can you believe that? And she took that on. Okay, if you pinky promise to never do it again and we're going to go to counseling, it's going to be fine. However, sadly, but not surprisingly though, he continued on with his ways. All of this led to Susan becoming very depressed, and there was probably a hereditary element to it as well after knowing what happened with her father. And she spiraled mentally. I mean, she attempted certain things on more than one occasion, and that started at the age of 13 years old. Susan did go on by a miracle to graduate high school in 1989. However, she got into like this relationship with a married man that she had been having this affair with. And when this married man broke off the affair with her, she spiraled all over again. Now, at this point, this is when Susan finally made it into another doctor who diagnosed Susan with an adjustment disorder. At 19, Susan then went on to marry a 20-year-old man named David Smith back in 1991 after she got pregnant with their first son, Michael. The two of them worked together at Winn-Dixie, and then she got pregnant with their second son, Alexander, who was born in 1993. Now, this relationship was rocky as well, but they had a family together, and so therefore they were together. Now, David was raised in a pretty opposite way than Susan was. He was raised by what is said to be super strict Jehovah Witness parents. And at the time of their wedding, David had actually just lost his brother to Crohn's disease, and his own father had attempted that same year. I mean, a lot of mental struggles going on in this family dynamic, as you can see. Susan and David had several separations from each other as well. And during one of them, in 1994, Susan started a relationship with a man named Tom, who was actually known as one of the most eligible bachelors in their town. He was actually the son of Susan's boss. Susan had hoped that she had finally found someone stable that wanted her, but she was definitely wrong, because Tom was not ready to take on Susan because she had children, and he also believed that their different background and Susan's behavior towards other men wasn't suitable for him. So in October of 1994, Tom wrote Susan a letter basically breaking up with her. Tom would later say that he remembered one of his last conversations with Susan. He said that this conversation was on October 25th of 1994. Make sure you remember that date, okay? October 25th of 1994. He said that this conversation was about something that was upsetting David that he knew about Susan that was going to make it like public. He would later come out and say that it was the fact that Susan had still been having relations with her stepfather. Yeah. Then Susan insulted Tom by claiming that he had been sleeping with his father. Now, at this point, Tom asked Susan to just completely leave. I mean, this is some wild back and forth here. Just 3 hours later, a terrible tragedy would happen. Now, that same day, on October 25th of 1994, Susan reported to the police that she had been carjacked by what she described was a black man. She claimed that her sons, 3-year-old Michael and 14-month-old Alex, were actually in the car when the car was taken. She said that she ran to the closest house that she could find and had someone call 911.
Yeah, there's a lady that come up that door, and some guy jumped into a red light with her car with her 2 kids in it, and he took off, and she got out of the car here at our house.
And he's got the kids?
Yes, ma'am, in her car. And she's real hysterical, and I just decided I need to call the law and get them down here.
Get them going, Pam. They got 2 kids.
Now, this brings me to my question in the beginning of the video with like, what is like your fear? I saw a lot of people online talking about this being something that scares them, something just completely random. Like you're just sitting in the car with your family and somebody comes up and takes the car and your family is still in it. So after she runs to the neighbor house and calls 911, like you guys just heard, for the following 9 days, Susan made a bunch of dramatic pleas on national television for the return of her and David's sons.
Pray every day that you're taking care of them and know that we will do anything we will to help you to get them home back to us. I just can't express it enough.
The American public continue to pray for Michael and Alex that they all return home safely.
Based on what happened last night, do you know anything better about it now than you did last night?
No. They've got people everywhere looking for them. I mean, you can hear the helicopters out there, and but they haven't seen anything, and it's crazy. And it's been since 9 o'clock last night, you know. And I really thought that when it got daylight, they would find them just in a heartbeat, but they hadn't.
Was there anything about the demeanor of the man that gives you concern?
No, in fact, when he made me get out of the car, I tried to get my children. I was, just begged him, please let me take them. And he said no, he didn't have time because they were in car seats and it was going to take time for me to get them out of the car seat. And he just told me, he said, but I won't hurt them. And he just took off.
However, some people thought that something seemed pretty off about Susan. I mean, Susan's story wasn't really adding up, and it seemed like every time she was asked about the incident, her story changed a little bit. Some of Susan's friends even said that Susan kept asking them if Tom, that guy that she had just broken up with and had that big blow up with, was going to come and see her, which all of the friends found to be pretty bizarre given the circumstances. I mean, like, girlfriend, your car was just carjacked by this random person. Your 2 little ones was in it. You don't know where they're at. It's 9 days later and you're worried about if your ex-lover is going to come and see you. Strange. But Susan was then asked to take several polygraph tests, all of which had come back inconclusive. However, this made the investigators even more suspicious of Susan's story because during the test, Susan stated that when the car was jacked, a red light had caused her to stop at a completely empty intersection. Investigators believe that that particular intersection wouldn't have a red light if there wasn't another vehicle present at the intersection road. It would have stayed green until another car forced a red light. And mind you, you would think that David, her actual husband and the father of the 2 little ones, when all these tests came back, these polygraph tests that she was doing came back inconclusive, he would be suspicious. However, I saw an interview where he said that he was so ticked that the cops were constantly polygraph testing her and questioning her. He really felt like, hey, you guys are wasting time questioning the mother of them when you need to be out finding who took the car. As a matter of fact, he said that he sat down with her multiple times and tried to teach her how to pass a polygraph. Yeah, he said that he kept telling her things like, think about puppies or think about open fields so you could pass this test. However, they still kept coming back inconclusive.
I do understand why they're having to do what they're doing. I'm all they have. Right now, they have not been able to rule anyone out. I don't think I'm any more of a suspect than anyone in this case right now.
It's very painful to know that anyone would think that either of us had anything to do with this addiction of our children. But me and my wife know the truth.
But then something shocking happened. On November 3rd of 1994, Susan finally confessed. Susan told investigators on the night of October 25th, y'all remember, that she drove to John D. Lake where she was originally planning to roll into the lake with the car and her sons, but she changed her mind. She put the car in neutral, she got out, and she watched as the car rolled into the lake. So she didn't change her mind about the situation. She changed her mind about being in the car as well. Susan did give the investigators the exact location of her car, and they went out to find it. Scuba divers recovered Susan's vehicle and the remains of Michael and Alex. They were found dangling upside down in their car seats with one tiny hand pressed against the car window. It would later come out that from the beginning, the investigators did not believe Susan's story. They believed that she had done something to her sons, but they didn't have any proof. And of course, they didn't want to just go and accuse a mother, but they knew something was up. They had even searched that same lake, but Susan's car wasn't located because the investigators only searched 30 feet from the shore. Susan's car was actually found 122 feet from the shore. The investigators said that they just didn't think that the car could have gotten out that far. I mean, 122 feet, that is far. Now, Susan's trial was not televised, and at the time, the judge said that he made that decision because he was worried about what the presence of cameras were doing to the O.J. Simpson trial that was actually going on at the exact same time. But from reports, we know that Susan's defense attorney argued that Susan's actions were because she was mentally ill due to her father's tragic passing and the situation that she suffered and was going through at the hands of her stepfather. He also added that Susan had planned on actually dying that day herself with her sons, but she decided at the last minute to get out of the car. The prosecutor, however, claimed that Susan was a murderous manipulator who ended the lives of her two little ones solely because Tom did not want to be with a woman who already had children. Then on July 22nd of 1995, after only deliberating for 2 hours, the jury found Susan guilty of first-degree murder. Susan would then go on to be sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 30 years. The prosecutor argued for the DP, but the jury decided otherwise, probably because of what did go on in her childhood. But today, this brings us to today, or this time frame. Susan is serving her time at a prison in Greenwood, South Carolina. Since being convicted, Susan has unsuccessfully tried to appeal her conviction. She claimed that David had actually been hurting her during their marriage as well, but David completely denied it, and the investigator said that there was no proof that that ever happened. Then in 2015, Susan actually gave a written statement to the media about what she did, and it said that it has been hard to listen to lie after lie and not be able to defend myself. It's frustrating to say the least. The thing that hurts me the most is that people think that I hurt my children in order to be with a man. That is so far from the truth. There was no motive, as it was not even a planned event. I was not in my right mind. Now, since Susan has been in prison, she's allegedly been caught smoking green and having relations, you know what I mean, with 2 different correctional officers. And one correctional officer has even spoken out about his time in the prisons with Susan.
I first met Susan Smith probably my second or third night on duty at the Women's Center. She had come up for medication call. Disciplinary record is extensive, and the online record only begins in 2011 when they started digitizing all of it into the what they called the CRT system and public access. But before that, I know her file was, even in 95, was pretty thick, because back then we kept paper files on everybody, and they had to travel with them. Even if they went to a medical appointment, that paper file had to go with them. So she initiated contact. She pursued it vigorously. And every time I was on duty, she would bring it up until it happened.
So back in August of 2024, which is last year as of now, Susan even got in trouble for communicating with documentary filmmakers from prison. Apparently, Susan gave this filmmaker contact information for friends, family, and even victims, including her ex-husband, David, who I would definitely consider the biggest living victim right now, right? These were his sons. This filmmaker also allegedly deposited money into Susan's account. Susan was charged with communicating with a victim or witness and lost her phone, her tablet, and her canteen privileges for 90 days. Now, all of this just happened before Susan became eligible for parole. So now, after serving 30 years, Susan has gone up for parole in front of the parole board. David, who is again now her ex-husband and who is also the father of Michael and Alex, spoke to the parole board members.
Madam Chairman, members of the committee, it's been a tough 30 years. I'm not here to speak about what she's done in prison. You all have the records and accounts of all that. I'm just here to advocate on Michael and Alex's behalf and as their father. You know, God gives us free choice. and she made free choice that night to end her life. This wasn't a tragic mistake. It wasn't something that she didn't mean to do. She purposely meant to end her life. I never have felt any remorse from her for it. She's never expressed any to me. I've never seen it on paper. No, as you've heard, she changed my life for the rest of my life that night. Some for the better, some for the worse, but I understand back in 95 that through the state's law, life in prison meant 30 years to life. And now that's different, but at that time, that's what counts. I understand that. But ultimately, to me, that's only 15 years per child. Her own children. It's just not enough. So I'm asking that you please deny her parole today. And hopefully in the future, but specifically today. Not let her out. I miss them very much. And I love them very much. And I will be here every 2 years going forward to ensure that their death doesn't go in vain. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Smith.
Susan was there, but she appeared virtually, and she gave her own statement.
I want to say how very sorry I am.
It's okay, Susan. Just talk with us.
I know that what I did was horrible. And I would give anything if I could go back and change it. And I love Michael and Alice with all my heart.
Ms. Smith, were you under the influence of drugs or alcohol the night that you murdered your children?
No, ma'am, I was not.
Your attorney talked about working with mental health. Is that helpful to you?
Ma'am?
Mr. Thomas.
I hear you.
Mr. Thomas talked about the fact that you were working with mental health, and my question is that helpful to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that something that you would be willing to continue with on the outside if you were granted parole?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Smith, your crime took a lot of resources from the law enforcement community. What, if anything, would you say to the folks who worked so hard to find your children if you had the opportunity to speak to them today?
That I'm sorry that I put them through that. I really, really am. And I'm especially sorry to the drivers that I had to find them. I wish I could take that back. I really do. I didn't lie to get away with it. I really didn't. I was just scared. I didn't know how I could tell the people that loved him that they would never see them again. I didn't know how I could tell David he couldn't see his son again. And I'm sorry. I don't know. I know that's not enough. I know it's not, but I don't know. I know those just sound like words, but they come from my heart. They really do.
Susan was ultimately denied parole, but she has the opportunity to make her plea again in 2 years. So what do I think? I do not believe her story about, do I think she had mental issues? Yes. Do I think that it's terrible what she went through when she was younger? Yes. But I do not believe the correlation of this being unplanned and that she did this because she just had this mental breakdown. I absolutely believe that the little ones were getting in her way. That's what I think. Do I think she should have got out on parole? In my unprofessional opinion, y'all, remember, I am not a professional. No, I don't. And I'm glad that the father, who again is the real living victim right now, in my unprofessional opinion, the parole board listened to him. And again, she's still in there cutting up. So the parole board, they look at that when they're getting ready to let you out. Like, if you can't follow directions or the rules while you're in this incarcerated place, why would the parole board let you out? When, you know what I'm saying? So awful. Absolutely awful. And the way that they were found, yeah. Have y'all heard about this? Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Other than that, thank y'all so much for watching this video. I hope y'all all have a wonderful weekend. I love you guys, and I will talk to y'all in the next video. Love you guys. Bye.